And President Trump is facing more pushback here in the U.S. over his tariff war. 12 Democratic states have filed a lawsuit to stop the administration's tariff policy. They claim the taxes are unlawful and causing chaos to the economy. Our Scripps News Deputy Political Director Joe St. George joins me now from Capitol Hill to break all of this down. Joe, is this latest lawsuit just a stunt, or are these Democratic attorney generals actually hoping to overturn these tariffs?
Well, look, these attorneys general, they have law degrees. They believe that they have legal ground to sue here and challenge the Trump administration. The Trump administration, we should be clear, they believe they have sound legal footing and that ultimately the courts will disagree with any challenge here. But it's been a familiar rhythm, right? In the first 100 days of President Trump's second administration, a controversial, consequential executive action is taken. A lawsuit is filed in many cases from a Democratic attorney general, and then a federal district judge files an injunction blocking an action. It's been this rhythm that has frustrated so many conservatives around the U.S., including the Trump administration, who wants to move at a high speed and has been met with many injunctions along the way. One of the attorneys general leading the charge is Chris Mays, the attorney general from Arizona. By my count, this is the 13th time that Attorney General Mays has sued the Trump administration over this, over that. The attorney general saying, quote, "The tariffs are illegal, and if allowed to stand, they will drastically increase prices for Arizonans in every single corner of our state." We saw similar statements released by attorneys general in other states that have joined this lawsuit. A lot of tariff developments happening really in the last 24 hours or so. We would be not doing our job if we didn't share what Beijing said in the last 12 hours or so, and that is a clarification over the status of U.S. trade negotiations. If you've been listening to President Trump this week, last several days, you would think that relations are going well. The president hinted earlier this week that tariffs may be going down. But overnight, the Ministry of Commerce said, quote, "Any claims about the progress of China-U.S. trade negotiations are groundless, as trying to catch the wind and have no factual basis." That's coming from the Ministry of Commerce for the government under President Xi Jinping. So some clarifications out of China related to what President Trump has been saying regarding the state of tariffs in our country. All of these tariffs, Nate Reed, clearly taking an effect on the American people. Some fresh polling out this morning from the Associated Press and NORC shows just how much people feel like the economy is dipping in the wrong direction as a direct result of all of this. Look at some of these numbers on our screen right now. Is a recession possible, they asked. Extremely very concerned of one. 53%, somewhat concerned, 27%. I have a couple other figures for you. 76% think Trump's tariff policies will make the cost of consumer products go up. About 6 in 10 adults disapprove of how President Trump is handling the economy. Noteworthy because during his first administration, he scored relatively high on the handling of the economy question on many polls. Not so as he winds out his first 100 days. There will be a lot of polls to dissect, more reflection on the first 100 days of the Trump presidency in the coming days. That official date is next week. The president announcing that he'll be commemorating it throughout the week, but one of the big events will be a rally in Macomb County, Michigan next week, something we, of course, will bring you live coverage right here on Scripps News. Nate Reed.
Joe, clearly some protests against those tariffs, that car alarm going off behind you. But I want to change topics here. The president continues to take on immigration, something that he'd promised on the campaign trail. Yesterday, he did so with some additional executive orders, again, targeting schools, universities. What can you tell us about this latest efforts? These attacks on educational institutions in the Department of Ed kind of seem to be unrelenting from the White House.
Well, let's call it a feud, right? Let's call it what it is. It's a feud, and it's a battle. I think it was been most symbolic up until this point with Harvard University threatening withholding funds unless Harvard changes its DEI programs. This is a much more sweeping executive order being taken by the president related to college accreditation. Looking at reforming, threatening to withhold money. Money talks. Money is the language that President Trump speaks, right? And he knows that money talks. And so this now now college accreditation process, which unlocks federal dollars for many institutions of higher learning. This is now being looked at by the president's education team and could further complicate, exacerbate, you choose the verb you want, the relationship between higher institutions of higher learning and the Trump administration. One other noteworthy executive order signed yesterday, I think is noteworthy for parents, kids in schools, involves school discipline. The Biden administration previously essentially sent a warning to school superintendents around the country, school boards, saying, you know, you better be equally disciplining groups of students. It shouldn't be majority black students being expelled or majority Latino or Hispanic students being expelled. That there should be some equity there, and if there isn't, there could be a possible civil rights violation happening. The president essentially rescinding that, walking it back. He believes that the Biden administration went too far when it comes to race. He's calling this common sense school discipline. The American Federation of Teachers, though, which, as you know, Nate, is one of the more influential teachers unions in the United States, if not the most influential teachers union in the United States. Randy Weingartner writing, this approach fails to create a safe and welcoming environment. It simply ignores a history where black and brown students were disproportionately suspended or expelled from school. So we have consequential, controversial moves regarding tariffs today. Controversial, consequential moves regarding education today. The news unrelenting here in Washington, and it continues on this Thursday. Nate Reed.
That it does. Our Scripps News Deputy Political Director Joe St. George for us live on Capitol Hill with all of the latest stories. Joe, thank you.